Hey Bears, I'm Cole West, and I'm here to introduce Green Hill High's new principal, Kevin Dawson.
Thank you.
So what high school did you go to?
I went to Northside High School in Jackson, Tennessee.
And how would you describe your experience there?
I was a mediocre student. I think that if you found my teachers or other students that I went to school with and told them that I was a principal now, they would laugh out loud and think it was a joke.
Now, Wilson County is about 71% larger than Madison County, where you previously resided. How do you believe the larger population has affected your view on high school?
I don't know necessarily that the size has affected it much because the populations of the schools are pretty similar to what I had, but the demographics are different. And so when I got to Mt Juliet Middle School and started teaching there, I really was able to soften my approach with students and focus on the actual academics and what I was doing in the classroom. Essentially, I started teaching in Jackson, and I had to be very much a parent back then. And here, I didn't need to do that role. I could really focus on moving the kids forward academically.
Absolutely. Where did you go to college?
I went to Union University for my bachelor's degree. That's where I decided to become an educator. And then after that, I went to University of Memphis to get a master's, and then Tennessee State University to get an EDS so I could become an administrator.
Now, Union University is quite close to your home of Jackson, Tennessee. What made you want to stay close to home when you went to college?
My grandfather said, "I'll pay for you to go to college, or you can go into the Marines." And I thought, this is not really Marine quality right here, so I'll go to college. And he golfed with one of the higher-ups at the school, so we went there, had a conversation, and I became a student. And it was just kind of a natural transition there. And until I graduated, I probably would have stayed in Jackson my entire life, but I married a young lady from Mt Juliet, Tennessee.
Now, when you did start to teach, how did you originally get your first job as a teacher?
Because I was in Jackson, I had connections from going to school. Hopefully I made a good enough impression student teaching that those teachers spoke up for me. But actually the first principal I worked for, his son was in school with me when I was in middle school and high school. So it helped knowing people to be able to get that position. In my first job, I was an 8th grade science teacher.
Really? What are some differences you noticed when you moved to Mt Juliet and the Nashville area versus Jackson in school?
Oh, people are way nicer here. The very first thing I noticed was how nice people were. When I first moved to Mt Juliet, I actually didn't work in Mt Juliet. I worked in Metro for 6 years and loved it. It was a very diverse student population. But when I transitioned into Mt Juliet Middle School, because I needed to be more rigid with my classroom expectations in the school in Metro, I really came in and kind of laid the hammer down to the students that first day and impressed upon them that I wanted them to follow my rules. And when I went back to check on them after I was doing hall duty, they were all sitting there like perfect angels. And I realized maybe I went too far. Like, they're pretty terrified.
Yeah.
So I was very pleased to be able to loosen that up and create a classroom environment that everyone felt appreciated, respected, and were able to really express themselves individually.
Now, how did you get your job as the principal of West Wilson Middle School?
That's funny. I actually applied and interviewed for the principal job here at Mt Juliet High School when Mr. Brown was retiring. And through that process, it was an interview process. And so through that process, the superintendent and assistant superintendents, I think, were impressed about my ability to potentially be a school leader. And so when West Wilson became available, I was asked to do that job.
Absolutely.
And excited to do that job.
What experience do you feel you gained as an administrator of West Wilson?
With the change in student population, because Gladeville Middle School just opened, I gained a lot of students from Mt Juliet Middle School. And I really had a unique opportunity there to grab students that were a part of a different school culture and help them conform to and be a part of a new school culture at West Wilson. And I didn't want to take them and kind of put them in this West Wilson box that already existed. I wanted it to be something that we all were a part of. And that experience, I think, has helped with going and opening Green Hill, because I'll be doing the same thing with students from Mt Juliet High School. Some of you guys are being pulled out and plucked into something new, and I don't want the students to feel like this is some box that I'm being put in of this new Green Hill High School. We all need to be a part of that process, the students and the parents and the faculty of the school.
So is that why you put in your application at Green Hill?
That's part of the reason why. Another part of the reason is I missed high school students. I love the middle school students. We had a great time at West Wilson Middle School, but it's a different part of life for you guys at the high school. It's a very important transitional time, getting you prepared for whatever the future may be, whether it's the workforce or something post-secondary. And just having that opportunity to engage in that process and see the final part where you walk across the stage and get that piece of paper it's exciting for me, and it's something I'm passionate about.
Now, how were you notified when you first got the job at Green Hills High?
I got a phone call from Dr. Wright as I was leaving West Wilson one afternoon, and I pulled off into the parking lot because of the laws, hands-free. And we had a conversation about, am I ready to engage in this? And I said, absolutely.
And who was the first person you told?
My wife.
And how did she react?
She was excited. I think somewhat intimidated because it's a big job, but she's excited for me, and is excited to see what the future is going to hold.
Now, what are some obstacles that you're facing now that you are the principal of an unfinished school?
The primary obstacle right now is information flow. It's a faculty of one, and it's me. And a lot of people want information, and it's not necessarily that the information doesn't exist, but it doesn't exist in its entirety. And I don't like putting out pieces of information and then having to go back and redact those and fix it. So really just kind of trying to help give people enough that they can feel reassured that it's going to be okay, but not give out information that's incomplete that we're going to have to come back and fix on the back end. So I'm going to try to do some things to get information to parents so that they can feel, and students so that they can feel comfortable and really understand the facts about Green Hill, and not necessarily the rumors that are kind of being circulated and cast about.
What's the mascot going to be?
It's a hawk, and the colors are green and white, but it's two shades of green, dark green and Kelly green. The design of the building is very similar to this at Mt Juliet High School, except the common area would be flipped on the other side. Like your common area, you enter from, I guess if you're looking at the building, you enter from the right, you enter from the left.
Okay.
The other part is that the second and third floor here stop when you get to the common hallway. The second and third floors are going to go to the back of the building. So when you enter the common entrance, there's going to be another spiral staircase going up to the top, similar to what you see at the front of Mt Juliet High School.
Oh, well, that's really cool to hear.
The layout of the athletic fields are different. Our football field is actually going to be turf. As you drive down Lebanon Road, you can see a building being built kind of right behind the car dealership. That's the field house and concession stand. The football field will be right behind that, kind of north. And then the practice facilities, there will be a little road that runs down towards W.A. Wright. The practice facilities are over there. And all the rest of the fields are down the road that goes to W.A. Wright. Actually, the best place to see those is from W.A. Wright. The school is going to open next year. We will have varsity sports available. We're working on a lot of things that I think people have been overly concerned about on the back end, as far as football has been a big concern. And so there's a lot of really good things in the work right now that hopefully I'll be able to share in the next week or so. The academics, we're going to have some programs that are going to be new and unique. And really once those get ironed out, I'll be able to share those hopefully in January. But there will absolutely be every opportunity available to the students that they have currently available where they're at.
What are some things that you would like to do differently than other high schools in our district now that you have the opportunity to create a brand new high school?
I don't know about differently. I'll say that the two things that I'm wholly focused on as school leader are academic press and culture of care. And I think sometimes we get so overly focused on the academic press part that we forget that students have to be supported. If we're going to push students academically and really try to be ambitious about it and try to get you guys to a point of frustration where you're really learning and it's authentic, we've got to make sure that there are supports there that help you feel like you're a part of the process and help you feel like it's possible to overcome obstacles. And what I really hope is to ensure that both of those things are held to equal importance as we go about this process.
And your previous position's successor, Ms. Sharp, was a huge advocate for minorities here at Mt Juliet High School.
Yeah.
What do you plan on doing as the principal at Green Hills High to help your students personally?
I'm going to model that. That's who I am as a person. I referenced one of the schools that I worked at in Metro. When I first got to that school, it had about 550 students, and there were 46 nationalities represented in that tiny student population. So I've got a lot of experience with diverse cultural backgrounds, and it's every student that walks in the door is a student of mine, regardless of where they come from, what they look like, what they believe. Everyone is valued the same. We're all unique, but we all deserve respect and value, and we're part of the overall whole community. I do plan on spending some time here at Mt Juliet High School in the mornings, observing what it looks like when you guys are arriving. During lunchtime is really something that's interesting to me because my time at Wilson Central High School, I'm sure you guys know, they have a 50-minute lunch. Everyone goes to lunch together at the same time. I like it a lot. I think students like it and probably prefer it.
What is the projected capacity for Green Hill High School so far?
Capacity will be 2,000, but starting next year, I think we'll probably only have around 1,200 students.
Oh, that's nice. Now, Mt Juliet High School has a lot of school culture, such as Bear Pride, Mt Juliet High, or our alma mater. What is some school culture you're hoping develops over the years?
The culture piece I hope that develops is just a sense of community. I do want them to be proud of Green Hill High School, but I want them to be not necessarily proud of the brick and mortar, but proud of the people that make it up. Those pieces like Bear Pride and alma mater and things like that, those are things that I think other people need input on, and it doesn't need to be something that Kevin Dawson projects out. So I've got plans in place to really pull in students and parents. And
so you're saying you're going to be letting students have a lot of decision in new high school stuff?
Absolutely.
How are you going to get students' input?
I love using Google. So really just coming and having surveys, either putting them out on social media and having students engage with them there. But I would like to come have a couple of nights at the high school and at the middle school, or not nights, during the school day, to meet with the students and just kind of say, these are the things that I'm trying to come to a conclusion on. How do you feel about those? What's your input there? Because they're going to be the ones living it day in and day out.
Now, recent schools built in our district have a lot of new and amazing technologies. What is some new technologies that you can give us a little spoilers for at Green Hill High?
Let's see. A lot of the new stuff will be in CTE areas. There's going to be some new offerings and some things that are unique technology-wise there. Kind of on the general school standpoint, we'll be a one-to-one school, so all the students will have devices. The library is going to have a different look and feel to it, because if everyone's carrying around a device and that device can access all kinds of text, then why do we need a robust nonfiction section in a library? We absolutely need fiction options for students to be able to pull from, but for that space, I would like to see it more like you would experience at a university, where it's where I go to study, and it's where I go to plan, and it's where I go to do those types of things.
Now, as an administrator and the sole principal of a new high school, you get to handpick your staff. What are some characteristics that you're wanting each individual of your staff to have?
When I'm interviewing a teacher, I'm always listening for how do they talk about students. That sounds kind of commonsensical, but you would be a little bit surprised. So how do they speak about students, and where's their value there? Another thing I want to know is, do you have the ability to really push a student academically, but also support them? Some teachers, I'm sure some of you guys have experienced before, think that academic rigor means I'm going to give you 100 math problems tonight. I want to know that you're more ambitious than that. I want risk takers. If you're walking into a school where the kids have devices and not traditional textbooks, what does that look like in your classroom? Are you able to use that, or does it become a glorified Post-it note? So someone that will take risks and really push the envelope in their classroom is important to me.
Now, for anybody who's wanting to get more information on the high school, where do they look?
The school website is www.wcschools.com/GHHS.
Okay.
The Facebook is at Green Hill HS, and the Instagram is exactly the same. I'll be putting information out there as quickly as I get it. I receive emails all the time at Dawson, the letter K, at WC Schools. I'm more than happy to respond to those to get information out.
Now, to finish us off, the reason for building a new high school in Wilson County is obviously overpopulation. However, there is a large number of students here at Mt Juliet High School who, given the opportunity, would choose to stay.
Absolutely.
What would you say to convince some students that giving Green Hills High an opportunity would be worth it?
I completely understand wanting to stay where you're at. It's comfortable, it's what you're used to. As you guys were going through elementary and middle school, those of you that are from the community, that's kind of what you've seen as the overall goal, is to walk across the stage as a golden bear. I get that. The community is growing, it's changing, and we have to change with it. I can assure you that Green Hill High School will be a place that people are proud to be at. If I can give a brief example, when I taught at Mt Juliet Middle School, the second year I taught there, they needed 2 teachers to teach together and have one group of students. So everyone else had 4 teachers and got to circulate. There was going to be one group that had 2 teachers and just went back and forth between them. We were concerned that parents would be upset and that children would be upset that they don't get the same experience as everyone else. I've run into those students all the time. They all graduated from Mt Juliet High School last year, and they will still to this day tell you that 7th grade at Mt Juliet Middle School was the best school year they've ever had, because we built a culture and a climate amongst that small group of students that they loved engaging with and loved being a part of. And that's what I'm going to build on a bigger scale at Green Hill High School.
Absolutely. Thank you for being with us today, Mr.
Thank you very much for
Dawson.
having me. I appreciate it very much.